I see this as 5 guys fighting for 3 spots right now that are currently here. It's O'Brien, Boyd, Kerfoot, McBain, and Carcone. They're going to have to find 3 players out of these 5. I still, when we talk about the Coyotes lineup, and I know Dylan Guenther's probably listening, I like Dylan Guenther. He's a part of their future. I think he is a high skill player. He got power play time in Australia. I'm not sure if he's the right guy to put on the wing with Logan Cooley, and we're going to see that as the week progresses. I still like Alex Kerfoot there. I think Kerfoot brings a little bit more speed, some experience to that line. So I would like to think Kerfoot, of those 5, Kerfoot's playing. Kerfoot, he kills penalties. Kerfoot's too valuable. Of the 5 we mentioned, Kerfoot's playing. He's going to play every night. He's going to fill different roles. He can play up and down the lineup. He can kill penalties. He can defend, but he's also fast enough to be a part of this offense. Kerfoot's playing. So of the 5, Kerfoot's in. I also think McBain's in. McBain, you get up the middle of the ice. Again, he's a valuable piece to this team because of his size. He's able to fight. He's a hard-hitting guy that gets to the net hard. So I think Kerfoot and McBain are playing. So now you've got 3 players in Boyd, Carcone, and O'Brien that need to fill out that last everyday player. And I think you're going to see these 3 players rotating in and out of the lineup. I don't think to start the season that they're going to send either one of them down. I think you'll see them get on a plane to go to the East Coast with 14 forwards. That's my prediction today.
Okay. That
they take all of those guys along with, and then they will play them when it is appropriate to play them. When you're playing a heavy team like the Los Angeles Kings, I would anticipate that you would see O'Brien in the lineup. When you're playing against the Edmonton Oilers, I would anticipate with that speed, maybe that's Carcone gets into the lineup with a little more speed. So I think you're going to see more situational people and those guys rotating in and out of the lineup. The only way that changes is if Dylan Guenther starts the season in the American League. And I know people freaking out over that because they freaked out when Josh Doan went down. I can't imagine what they're going to do when Dylan Guenther potentially gets sent down. I still think there is room for him to grow and develop and get stronger. And I'd love to see him on a line with Josh Doan down in Tucson just to start to get his legs underneath him in the pro game. He played 33 games last year. He struggled 5-on-5, really good power play player. So I wouldn't mind that. And then you put Kerfoot up, and now you're just rotating in Boyd, Carcone, and O'Brien. That's what makes sense to me. That's if I'm sitting on the coach's room moving the magnets around, that's the pitch I'm making this morning. And I've been in those rooms, and everybody gets a vote, but the head coach has 4. So it really doesn't matter what I think. And I was told that often that it didn't matter what I thought. But if I'm in the room, that's what I'm pitching.
It matters what you think right now to me.
Can I tell one story?
Yes.
We were in St. Louis. And we were going through the lineup. We do this. This is an exercise that we actually go through. What do you think of the lineup? And Rick Tocchet would go, hey, what do you think of the lineup tonight? Anybody want to fight for anybody? Because he'd put his up. He'd put his roster up and goes, anybody want to fight for anybody? And I said a particular player should go in on defense. And it was actually Kevin Connaughton. At the time, he was the extra, and he'd been working really hard in practice. And Rick Tocchet said, well, why? And this isn't all I said, but I said, and he's a really good guy.
Oh, God. I'm sure that went over well.
And he's like, he's a good guy. So we should put, he's a good guy. And so Rick Tocchet, for the remainder of the season, anytime I said anything, Petey, he's a good guy. So I got back in the afternoon Connaughton didn't go on the lineup that night, by the way. And he on a piece of paper at my desk in the St. Louis coach's room, he wrote on it, he's a nice guy in quotes. And he taped it to my desk. And that was stuck with me for the next year. But he's a nice guy. And so I took heat for that. So anyway, this is actual conversations that coaches go through, but it will all be up to the head coach. So Guenther may stay for now looking for that chemistry with Cooley, but I think they won't keep 14 forwards for the entire season.
Okay, a couple things so Brian said, can Guenther still progress even though he may be a healthy scratch a couple times a week? I don't think they would healthy scratch him a couple times a week.
He's in the lineup if he's there.
He's in the lineup or he's going to yes. I think that they're aware of his development and they're not going to, not have him develop. So I think we can say that. I definitely think I kind of agree with you on the Guenther thing, but he's there opening night. We saw him get reps on PP1 in Australia. We saw him on the second line. They're giving him every opportunity.
If he's there, he's playing.
Yeah. It's interesting because, and I know there's a lot of anti-Liam O'Brien.
Yeah, I know Kenny just said that too.
Chatter. And I can see the argument. He does provide, that kind of fourth line toughness, somebody that you can put out to drop the gloves. I mean, Jack McBain can do that too. The Coyotes have that toughness in players other than just O'Brien. O'Brien and Boyd, I mean, that one's hard. It's crazy how Boyd went from being top line center like a couple years ago to now. I mean, he was top line center on a not great Coyotes team then. No offense, Travis Boyd. Did you know he's from Minnesota? I can't see O'Brien and Boyd going to Tucson. I just don't see it.
No.
Carcone is interesting to me because he's been that guy in Tucson who's kind of, I mean, he led the team in points. Like, he was by far their best offensive player in Tucson last year. He's always been this guy that we kind of thought, okay, like, he's probably the next man up. So he signs his contract, and it's a one-way, which was a little bit interesting.
Surprising, yeah.
So now he's up with the big club. He's on the trip to Australia. But now you're looking at this list of guys, and you're thinking, like, there's not room for all these guys. The one thing about Carcone is he can sit. Like, they're not thinking about, like, Carcone's development. He's past that point of his career. So he does have that option to stay. And like you mentioned, I think it was a good point. You look at who you're playing and you make selections on who's playing based on what the matchups are.
And I think one of the other things, too, that you have to keep in mind is if you want to send one of these forwards down to Tucson, Carcone's got to clear waivers. He's not clearing waivers. The Carcone is going to get picked up by a team. He led the American League in scoring last year for a reason. He is going to fit on somebody, even if it's a fourth line for some team is going to grab him and you lose him for free. So he's not going to get sent down. Dylan Guenther can get sent down. He's waiver exempt, and he can get sent down. He's the only one of those players that can go through without getting claimed on waivers. So that leaves you with Boyd and O'Brien. My biggest problem with O'Brien, and it was, and I have to admit, I did say this to his face, and he did not punch me.
On
breakup
day
I said
last
this to his
year.
face.
Yeah.
I said he takes too many penalties. I said you walk that fine line. It's finding that balance between being physical and protecting your teammates and sitting in the penalty box. He ended up with 114 penalty minutes in 56 games last year. Second was Josh Brown with 87 in 68 games. So O'Brien spent way too much time. He cost this team so many goals while they were shorthanded while he was sitting in the penalty box. He has to fix that or he can't play. If he doesn't get better at taking penalties, he has to come out of the lineup because you can't afford to be sitting in the penalty box. You want his physical toughness. You want his ability to hit and his ability to protect players like Cooley and Guenther, but he can't sit in the penalty box. So that's the fine line with Boyd. And somebody said it in the chat just a little bit ago. Brian said it. Boyd looks slow. And that's a concern for a team that is trying to play an up-tempo, speed, high-pressure, feet-moving game. Boyd, to me, and he is from Minnesota, and I really like the player and the person. I just don't know if he might be the odd man out. I just don't know if there's a trade market for Travis Boyd.